everyone, Steven here with Level 1 Sword. Now today I wanted to make a little bit of a different kind of video than I have been making. So let me know in the comments if you like it, leave a like if you do, and just let me know. I want to hear your feedback and see if you like this type of format that we're going to be doing today, or if you really like the highly edited stuff. That's not going anywhere, but I did want to try something different and just kind of see where this takes us. So with that being said, I watch a lot of YouTube myself, and of course I follow other people who talk about video games. I noticed that some of them like to talk about their most expensive games, maybe their most rare games, and I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe it's about time I go through my own collection and see what I've got that's pretty rare or has gone up in value. So with all that being said, I did want to get a few things out of the way first. I would not call myself a game collector. Every game in my collection I've either played all the way through or I intend to at some point. And while I have a good-sized collection, I don't own games simply for the sake of owning them, either for value or just to have them in my collection, period. That being said, I have been obtaining games since childhood, and since I've had a job, I've been buying my own games, as you do. And I thought it was time to go through my game collection and see what has appreciated in value. Now, let's lay some ground rules. When I list the price, some of these titles are going to have the letters AVG next to them. For these games, I saw a large fluctuation in the price, and I basically took the lowest price that I could find and the highest price I could find, and I would just kind of meet you at the middle there. So that's what AVG will mean. And if I don't list AVG, it just means that I either could only find one source or one seller that was selling that game for that price, or I found multiple sellers all listing it for the exact same price. I have ignored any and all brand new and sealed copies since all of mine have been opened and used at some point. And unless otherwise noted, I'm only counting complete versions of the games with the game, case, and manual. There are some exceptions, and of course I will note that on the screen when that happens. And before I wanted to get into the actual list of valuable games in my collection, I did want to share a few nuggets of knowledge with you. The first thing I've learned is just because a game is old doesn't mean it's worth much. I've got plenty of old games. The earliest system that I can go back to is Game Boy. Probably my oldest game would have to be Super Mario Land, and that's worth $11. Second thing I've learned is just because a game was popular or is popular does not usually mean it's worth much. In fact, to the contrary, the more popular a game is, or the more popular a game was rather, the more it sold. So the more it's sold, the more copies there are available now. Ergo, the price is not that high, because it's an relatively easily obtainable game to get. Now on the positive side, games that typically release toward the end of a console's life, those are the ones you want to pay attention to. Those are the ones that are going to probably go up in price as the years go by. And it's all just simply because no one was paying attention to them, because the next console generation was right around the corner. A lot of people save their money, and therefore no one really buys that game. Another thing to watch out for is unpopular games starring popular characters also tend to go up in value. And I think that really just comes down to, at the time, people really didn't appreciate the gameplay, and after a while, there might be a cult following that rises up around that game. People discover it that didn't even know about it, and the game suddenly gets this following, and it's for, a character that a lot of people love. And people are thinking, hey, there's this great game starring this amazing character that no one talks about. This is fantastic. And it increases the demand of the game, which is in short supply since hardly anyone bought it. And the last thing, I wouldn't say that I've learned this recently. I had to learn this painfully when I was a teenager, is hold on to your games. Don't sell them. Unless you really are hurting for money, please do not go to GameStop and sell your games. Don't go to a pawn shop and sell your games. They're going to give you bottom dollar for it. If you are going to sell your games, sell your games on places like eBay or OfferUp. Those are the places to go to. Just you and the buyer having that relationship. Don't bother with these places that are going to give you next to nothing for your games. I've done that way too many times in the past, and I'm over it. I'm done doing it. And I don't want a middleman to be making money off of my game collection. And I don't think you should do that either. Just my 2 cents. All right, so with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the games that I have, the games that I want to talk about today. All right, the first up would have to be Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team. And this is one that took me by surprise. There's actually quite a few here that on my list that I was surprised that they had gotten up that much in value. But yeah, this game is really, really fun. It was one of those games that was released towards the end of the PSP's life cycle. I want to say it may be the last Dragon Ball Z game released on it. I also have Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai and Shin Budokai Another Road. Those are also 2 very good games, but this is the game that really took the Tenkaichi Budokai formula, which was the one-on-one arena fighting style for the PlayStation 2 and Wii. Those games were kind of known for being free roaming and locked on. This brings that to the PSP, but it also adds an element where it adds 2 versus 2 options for your fights. So it's really exciting. In a lot of ways, it actually looks better than those PS2 and Wii games. If you can get your hands on it, I do recommend it. It may actually be available digitally. Let me double check. And unfortunately, no, it does not appear to be available on the PlayStation Store anymore. There is a free demo, but not the game. So if you can find this for cheap out there in the wild, keep an eye out for it, because it's not only is it a valuable game, it's a fun one. So it's a lot of good memories with this one. Second on the list is a game that I really appreciated, but no one else at the time seemed to, is Mega Man Legends for the PS1. Mega Man Legends, it takes the Mega Man formula and completely undoes it and gives you a third-person action game that has RPG elements to it. Think Zelda with a Buster Gun. It's really fun. It's unfortunately way too short. If you know the ins and outs of this game, it only takes about 5.5 hours to beat, 10 hours to 100% it. I've done it. I played through it many times, but it is really fun. You can upgrade your Buster. You've got, stat enhancements. You've got the storyline is probably one of the best parts about it, aside from the way it looks. It's not quite cel shading. It's almost like a precursor to cel shading, and the characters look really great. They're basically, anime, cartoon-inspired characters, and so if you like anime, you will like this game. It is very It has some great moments in it. I'll just say that much. If some of you may be fans of the character Tron, this is the game that she is originally from. So just kind of a little bit of Capcom history there. But all in all, it's a really fun game, just too short. Now this one, you can find this one online. You can find it on the PlayStation Store for download. I know you can get it on the PSP. You may be able to get it on the Vita, but if you've got access to the PlayStation Store and you've got a machine that can run PlayStation games, PlayStation 1 classics, get this one. You won't regret it unless you really can't stand a 5.5 hour game. If that is too short for you, maybe go look elsewhere. Next on the list is not really a surprise much. If the first one was worth a lot, then probably the second one's going to be worth a lot too. So we have Mega Man Legends 2 for the PS1. This one is worth a little bit more, and probably it's due to the fact that this one did come out in 2000. Everyone was thinking about the PlayStation 2 at that time, and not a whole lot of people picked this one up. This one, I kind of go back and forth as to which one I like more, the first one or the second one. This one, of course, is longer. It's at least a 10-hour playthrough, maybe a little bit longer, maybe more like 12 hours if it's your first time and you don't really know what you're doing. But it has more content. The story is longer. The story is pretty incredible. I don't want to spoil anything, but it does resolve a lot of things that happened in the first game that might have left you with your head scratching. So story-wise, it's fairly satisfying, and the gameplay is the same. It has been changed. It has been enhanced better. Whereas the first one did not support DualShock controls, this one does. So you got your twin stick. I should have said this with the first one, but the first Mega Man Legends had a little bit of an awkward control scheme to it, and that, I think, is what turned a lot of people off to it. But this one takes a lot of that and really refines the formula and makes it a better experience. But the first one I do occasionally find more charming. Mega Man's voice in this one, they changed Mega Man's voice, and it's not terrible, but I definitely prefer the first one. Even though he's got a thick Canadian accent, and sometimes it sticks out like a sore thumb, I still like it a little bit better than this one. But yeah, Mega Man Legends 2. This is another one that is available for download if you really want to play it. You've got a Sony machine that can connect to the PlayStation Store and run PlayStation games. Then you're all set to go. The next game, I don't think many of you have probably heard about, but it's definitely one of my favorite PS1 games, and that would have to be Brave Fencer Musashi. I do have this one complete in box with the manual and the included Final Fantasy VIII demo. This game is super charming. This game pretty much came out right around the same time as The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64, and I was telling all my friends that loved that game, a game which I love too, mind you, but I was telling everyone that was playing Zelda, I was like, guys, you need to look into Brave Fencer Musashi. If you like Zelda, you're gonna like this game too. And they were just kind of like, it's not Zelda, I'm not gonna play it. But really, it's really fun, got a lot of voice acting, a lot of charming voice acting in it. You can get, different powers. It is a kind of an overhead isometric point of view style, but the camera angle does change at times. It's fully 3D graphics, again, fully voiced characters, which, wasn't a lot of PS1 games, but PS1 games kind of had the limitation of they had to choose to go either full motion video route like the Final Fantasy games, or they could do fully voiced audio. And this game chose to go with the fully voiced audio. Developed by Squaresoft at the time, today they're Square Enix. This game is available on the Japanese PlayStation Store, but it is not available, unfortunately, for download on the US side. So if you've got a way around that, if you can find a way to download Japanese PlayStation games, I do recommend getting this. It's super fun. I do wish that Square would think about maybe revitalizing the series, getting more sequels. There was a sequel on the PlayStation 2, completely new characters and settings, and while I enjoyed it, it's not nearly as good as this first one. The music in this game, by the way, phenomenal. Love it. Every time I listen to it, I'm blown away. Amazing soundtrack, really, really charming story, charming characters, lots of anime inspiration here too. So if you do like that, definitely check this one out. It should be right up your alley. So this one came as no surprise to me. When I picked this game up used at my local GameStop, they actually were displaying it, and I believe I picked it up for about $30, and even then it was going up in price. It had been out for maybe about a year, very limited copies, very limited ways of buying it due to the licensing issues, and if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm about to tell you, it is none other than the PlayStation 2 version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I have this complete. I actually almost lost this. A friend of mine borrowed it one time. He had it for a few weeks, and I said, hey, where's Marvel vs. Capcom 2? You've had it for a while. And he kind of gave me the runaround for a while. Come to find out that his brother, who worked at a large store with lots of other employees, his brother had brought it with him to work to play the game in their break room. Apparently they had a PS2 set up in their break room and they were all playing it on their break. And I was like, dude, I didn't lend this out to your brother. I lent this out to you. I'm going to need that game back ASAP. And fortunately, he was able to get it back, and I've got it to this day. But this is a game that has kind of come in and out of circulation. I'm not even sure. I don't even think you could pick it up now. It was made available for download on the PlayStation Store as a digital version. There are physical versions for this game floating around for different platforms. It also came out on the Dreamcast, Xbox, and different versions fetch different prices. So be aware of that if you're trying to get this game. It can be super hard to come by. It's in high demand. It's still played very much so within the fighting game community. And yeah, if you see it, pick it up. Because the way the licensing goes with Marvel, especially with Marvel being owned by Disney now, it can be sometimes a real pain in the butt to get. So if you see it, pick it up. You will be doing yourself a favor. Unless it's way too much money. Now, before I get into my most expensive game that I have, which came as a complete shock to me, I do want to list some honorable mentions here. We have Super Mario Sunshine, Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for the GameCube, and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for Switch Dreamers Edition. Okay, now on to my most expensive game in my library. I have no idea why this game is this much. I thought this game is from a very popular series. In fact, we've already covered one of those games here. This game was popular. It did come out towards the end. It did come out at the end of the PS2's life cycle, and it was also on the Wii. I think the Wii version might be a bit easier to find, and it may be just that the PS2 came with a bonus disc that came with every single PS2 copy of the game, so if you bought it, you got the bonus disc. I guess that's becoming more and more rare, which could be increasing the value of this game. But my most valuable game in my collection would have to be Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for the PS2. And again, I have it complete. I've got the case, game, manual, and the bonus disc. The bonus disc is simply a DVD with highlights from Funimation's top 10 Dragon Ball Z picks from the anime. It takes maybe somewhere around 20 minutes or so to watch. It's really nothing to speak of. The video quality is not that great on it. I don't really know what it is about that DVD that makes this so valuable to collectors, but it is. It beats out a lot of other games that I thought would have been on top. I don't see how this is more valuable than Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but it is, and here we are. So, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, when I bought this, never thought it would be one day the most valuable game that I own. So there you go. Again, my games aren't super valuable. I don't have any games that are like $500 and up or anything like that, simply because I'm not really a game collector. I don't go out to buy games simply because they're worth a lot. A game has to be worth it to me to buy, and I have to want to play it at some point in time. But that's been all for me. Again, hey, let me know if you like this kind of video. I will be, of course, making more videos. Another retrospective will be on the way very shortly. and I've just been coming up with different topics to talk about in the videos here. So if you like this video, give it a like, comment, tell me. I'd like to know, what are your most valuable and rare games in your game collections? What did you think of the ones that I showed you? If you've got questions, leave them in the comments for me. I'm pretty good about getting back to questions asked in the comment section, so ask your questions away. And with all that nonsense out of the way, my name is Steven, and thank you for watching Level 1 Sword. I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to keep on top of the videos, definitely take a sec to subscribe. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon if you want to follow me across the internet. Level 1 Sword also has a weekly podcast, so give it a listen.